Hey guys, I am Mark with Zerby, and today you are here for the How to Send the Perfect Tinder Opener webinar. And I'm really excited to get started. We've been planning this for a long time. And finally, we're going to show you all that we came up with. I think that you're really going to love this. You've been probably waiting a little bit, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the actual content here. So let me go ahead and start the slideshow here. Perfect. So let me know if you can see all that. I see that Paul's here. See some people here. That's awesome. Okay. So first off, welcome to the How to Send the Perfect Tinder Opener webinar. We're going to be covering exactly what you need to do on Tinder to get more matches and therefore more dates. We'll be talking about the online dating market, some background information. Don't worry, this part will be quick. Then we'll look at what doesn't work on Tinder. We'll be doing this by looking at an example from a girl named Emily that I found on a source called Tinder Insider. So we'll be looking at that. My personal favorite part of the webinar is when we look at the science and data behind effective Tinder openers. I won't be showing you my opinion here, just the facts that I pulled from Chris Rudder, who is the founder of OkCupid. After that, we'll lay the groundwork and dive in depth in the actual Tinder Wingman Tinder opening system. Here's where you're really going to want to pay attention. Then we're going to look at 24 real examples of me using that system and find out exactly why it worked. And by the way, guys, this is live, so if you do have any questions during the webinar, be sure to go ahead and ask me. All right, so first, I want to tell you guys who I am. My name's Mark, and before starting Zerby, I worked at one of the world's most successful and largest dating companies, Simple Pickup. I was also a partner at Willie Beck Dating. I've helped guys from all over the world conquer their dating life. Well, that's enough about me. Let's actually dive into the topic and talk about what Tinder really looks like. And by the way, if for some reason you're not able to watch this on the webinar here, if you click and go watch it on YouTube, it should say, can only be viewed on YouTube for some reason. I don't know, there's a little technical issue. Don't worry, if you just click that link, you'll be able to watch the webinar. But keep in mind that you will need to post the comments here in the webinar if you want me to see them. All right, so back on to the topic. There are 50 million active Tinder users. If you think about that in perspective, that's like the entire population of New York City times 6. That's not, by the way, just Manhattan. That's all of New York. So there are 26 million matches per day. So if we think about those 6 New York cities, that's the same as getting 3 of those full cities worth of matches every single day. And finally, there are 1.7 billion swipes. So that's approximately 1/4 of the world's population in terms of swipes every single day. So there's a lot of activity on Tinder. So what does that all mean? Well, it means that you can't fail. Statistically speaking, if you're in the game long enough, you're going to eventually score. It might just take a little while. To give you exactly what that means, it would take almost 15,000 hours or 3 years of straight 24/7 swiping to get through all of the female users. So by the end of this webinar, you'll know how to drastically reduce that number. So what are the bare minimum requirements to getting matches on Tinder? Well, one is a profile photo. And I have a quote here from an online dating expert, Julie. And she says that posting photos of you with sunglasses says that you're hiding something. Girls want to look in your eyes. Posting photos of a gorilla might be funny to you, but does she really want to kiss that furry animal? Not really. And the selfie without the shirt, are they really your best photo? You may want to show off your physique, but on the first swipe, she probably doesn't want to see you naked. So, we've done webinars in the past on your profile photo. And actually, if you go to the Zerby YouTube channel, you'll find that we have a lot of good information there too. The other thing you need is a good bio. So Rosette, who is the Tinder VP of Global Communication and Branding, says never ever skip the bio. Girls are 99% less likely to swipe right if you're not willing to divulge some basic info. So yeah, you need your profile, you need your bio. That's pretty obvious. But of course, that is just the start, and getting a match is the easy part. Where most guys fail is the opening message. Hands down, the opening message is where 99% of guys go wrong. After all, getting a match isn't hard, like we said before. It's just a matter of swiping enough. Now, moving on from there is the difficult part. So let's talk about what doesn't work before we get into the science of what does. So what doesn't work? Let's learn what to avoid. So let's meet Emily. We're going to do an experiment. She's an attractive girl that most guys would probably be attracted to. So this, by the way, is coming from a case study on tinderseduction.com. If you want to go see the full case study there, go ahead. But Emily, for this case study, deleted her profile, and then she swiped 50 times. So let's see the kind of messages that she received. Be sure to get out a pen and paper. I want you guys to keep track of exactly how many of your messages look like this. All right, guys? So the responses. You can see the phone right there. I see a few hays, some smiley faces, an invite to hang out this weekend with the letter U. Let's see some more. It's not looking any better. Obviously I'm not going to go through all of the pages, but I think you get the message here. So let's look at the results. Emily got 26 matches out of 50 swipes. 50% of the guys that matched with her messaged her. So looking at the stats, 50% of matches wrote her. The takeaway from this one is be part of that 50% that actually messages her. You don't have a chance if you don't even try. That's a given, but with that said, let's look at the kind of messages that she actually got. 86% of the messages she got were some mix of hey, hi, or what's up. Yikes. So out of the 50%, 86% were lines that are pretty bad. Things are not looking good for Emily. You can start to understand why girls don't respond to the first message and are so standoffish on Tinder. They get a lot of messages and they're all the same. So takeaway 2, don't be in that 86% that sends bad opening messages. Now, in terms of the messages that she got, all 100%, exactly 0 of them had any sort of subjective attention-grabbing aspect to it. So they were either simple greetings, boring questions, or invitations to meet up. So the stats, 0 were attention-grabbing. Takeaway 3, this is obvious, don't do what everyone else does. Be attention-grabbing. Now, finally, 0% of those messages were personalized anyway, and this really is the most important aspect. They were all some form of copy-pasted message or, messages that have no thought put into it whatsoever. So 0% had any real personalization. So takeaway number 4 is be personalized. All right, so let's get to the science behind the message. What can we do to improve our success based on actual data? Looking at that example was fine, but the fact is that that's just an example that comes from a blog. It's very subjective. It could be very different from every different girl. So let's actually look at some data here. Now, all of this data comes from Christian Rudder, who's the founder of OkCupid. Now, obviously, OkCupid is somewhat different than Tinder, but this will still be helpful to us because in a lot of ways, and at least for our benefit, they're close enough that we can take away some actual relevancy from here. So let's see on what we can actually do to increase our response rate. So first off, bad English. Messages that, on average, use your, ya, et have up to 25% lower chance to respond from the median, which is about 30%. Even just typing can't without the apostrophe will lower you about 20% of the average. How many messages of yours are you sending right now that have this problem, where you're using some form of bad English? So from this, we can choose our first rule. We can come up with our first rule. So the 5 rules of first messaging. 1, use proper English. Let's look at let's look at the next data and come up with rule number 2. Complimenting her. So as it happens, it does help. You can see that a compliment of some kind can increase the chance that she'll respond by up to 10%. But the moment that you compliment her on her looks, it doesn't just not help you, it actually starts to cripple you. Calling a girl sexy means that you'll get on average, 40% less response rate than complimenting something that is personal about the girl. So we have our second rule, be personal. And be personal about something other than her looks. So rule 2, be personal, not about looks. So again, this is the 5 rules of first messaging. Next, be specific. By being specific to something we see in her profile, we can boost our results to almost 45% from 30. It can be about anything you notice that's specifically about her. This really is radical, guys. I want you to really understand why. This is even more proof that copy-pasted lines do not work. This is even more proof that you need to be specific to each girl. And the more specific you are, the better. So rule number 3, be specific to her. That's talking about common interests, things that you both share. Now, let's move on to probably the biggest realization that I came across with the science and data behind first messages. This is where things get insane. So authenticity. This has a huge implication. Women respond most to the guys who are the most genuine, the guys who really want to get to know her, not the guys who are sending the best copy-pasted line, not the guys who have the most in common with her in terms of interests, and not the guys who are the most witty, have the best compliments, or anything. Authenticity reigns king. So let's move on. Oh, and I just want to kind of go back to that. Notice that this aspect of being authentic increases the likelihood of a response more than any other aspect that we've gone over so far, at least. Up to a 50% response rate from being authentic. So we'll go over the 5 rules of first messages. The number 4 is authenticity reigns king. All right, so what we've learned, we now know that we have 4 rules to send messages from actual data. And remember, those stats were coming from the averages of hundreds of thousands of messages on online dating. By sending the wrong first message, you can hit as low as a 0% response rate. I mean, that's kind of obvious, right? But by sending the right message, you can fire up to 50% above the average. That is incredible. And what's really great is that those things have nothing to do with your height, ethnicity, hobbies, or looks. It's about how you present yourself, how you project your authenticity. Remember, your looks, well, looks don't even really determine how many matches you get. It's more about how you present yourself. But even so, once you get those matches, everything from there is purely based on how you convey yourself. All right, so obviously I left out rule 5, and this is the secret sauce that ties everything together. In my opinion, this has a bigger impact, and for obvious reason, than all of the other rules really combined. Now, we will get to this later, but first I want to cover the Tinder Wingman opening system, all right? And don't worry, there are no cliffhangers here. I will get back to rule 5 later. Sorry. All right. So the Tinder Wingman opener system, sending the perfect opening message. We've already had a great foundation to build on, right? We've looked at a case study that potentially is subjective, and we have looked at the data. Now, as mentioned before, this will work with any girl that you match with on Tinder, even the ones with the, those dreaded, boring profiles that have no bio and have no anything. All right, so we have a question real quick. Mark is asking, not sure if you'll touch on this later, but is it better in the first message? Or, excuse me, is it better if the first message is a question or a statement about her? So we'll get to that in the examples, but that is a good question, and I'll dive more into that later. And by the way, be sure to write down your questions, because we're going to be doing a live Q&A at the end where we can really go deep into these kind of questions. I think you're really going to love that segment. All right, so let's talk about the system. Let's see it, all right? Following the system will give you the biggest potential returns. Now, of course, you can break the rules, but first you need to master this system. All right, so step 1 is to hook. And we're going to be talking about this in terms of fishing, because that just seems like an easy metaphor. This is where you pick one thing from her profile or photos. It can be anything, no matter how small, but it is something that is specific to her in some way. You now have your hook. Next, we have the line. Line is where you take the hook and make a line from it. Again, it doesn't matter how small the hook is. It really doesn't matter. Also, don't worry, we're going to be looking at examples of this because I know I'm not really explaining what I mean in detail. But basically, you're just taking that hook and making a literal line out of it. And finally, you have the reel. Reeling is where you connect her to you. Think of it like you're pulling her to your world. Hook, line, reel. Did you write these down? Of course, this has no value if we don't show you examples of how it's used. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. All right, so first off, we have this girl. And in this conversation, I referenced how cinematic her photos were. So her photos really were cinematic. They looked like movie stills. So my opening line was simply, hey, you're so cinematic. That's really all it took, right? Small hook. I noticed her profile has cinematic photos. Easy, done. Next example, in her bio, she mentioned that she loves compliments and has a good taste in wine. So my opening line here was pretty simple. All I need to do is find the hook. In this case, there's 2, which is she likes to be complimented and she likes her taste in wine, or she has good taste in wine. So my hook is a double hook. It relates to 2 things. If I'm complimenting your taste in wine, then I'm doing really well. Now notice, I took the 2 hooks, I made a line about it, and I reeled it into me. Right? I'm doing really well, right? I'm relating it to me. Powerful line. In this girl's profile, she mentioned in her bio that she doesn't want any one-night stands. She has enough furniture. So my line was just pretty simple. Well, good news then, I'm a lazy boy. So that's referencing the furniture thing and relating it to me. So again, does this line make a lot of sense? No. But is it related to her? Yes. Is it related to me in some way, even if it's just goofy? Then absolutely. So this girl has a puppy in one of her photos, so I play off of that. And a lot of guys are worried, oh, she has a photo in her profile that's a puppy. Every guy is going to be talking to her about the puppy. No, 86% of guys are just going to say, hey, what's up? So, you know, if she's giving it to you easy on a silver platter, go ahead and take it. That's okay. So again, this line, I say, I want to get to know you just to be able to play with your puppy. Elephant in the room, nice to meet you. I'm Mark. So again, referencing something in her photo and relating it to me. So next up, she mentions that she loves spicy food, and I seriously love Sichuan. And this is where authenticity comes in. So really simple, right? I love Sichuan. Preach. That's all it takes. All right, so this girl messaged me regarding something in my profile, tea in art history. So if your bio is good, it's going to give her things to work with. She's going to be messaging you on occasion, and she's going to reference something in your profile. So if you have something in your profile that you know a little pun or joke on, then you can go ahead and use it, right? So this is a hook. It's a hook related to the line that she used, which is tea. It's a pun, that's the line, and it's related to us being together. So by the way, guys, you're gonna see me make this joke, this oolong joke, a few times. So again, it's just about relating it to her and being personal to you, right? Pretty simple stuff, guys, right? These lines aren't things that takes a genius to think. And in a lot of cases, they're much easier than going online and searching for copy-pasted messages. It really is simple. So this girl said that I won't share my pizza with you. So my line is really, really simple. But sharing is caring, right? It's a hook. It's related to something in her profile. And it's related to us sharing pizza. Again, really small, but it works. And it creates a fun role play that she is, you know, diving into. So in this case, I'm referencing something in her profile. She was talking about celebrity chefs. So I use a GIF of Guy and say we live in Flavortown. So again, you can see that and how that works. Now, Mark mentioned before, is it better to use a question or a statement? The truth is it doesn't really matter so long as it's related to something in her profile, something specific and related to you, then you're pretty much okay. And you'll see examples where I use it as a question. So she had photos of her at a Ren fair. Okay, you know what? Let me just address Mark a little bit more about the question or the statement. Really what it comes down to is you can use a statement that's 100% fine so long as you give her something to work with, something to respond with. If you're not giving her much to work with and you just use a statement, she won't know how to respond. She might just say, okay, or cool, right? So if you use a statement, just make sure there's something that she can respond to. So this is a great example. I want things to work out between us because I've never been to a Ren fair and I know that you could be my in. Well, that gives her a lot of material to work with and something to respond to, right? If I say, oh, I love this movie, blank, and that movie is in her profile, what is she gonna say? Oh, cool, yeah, I like it too. So that doesn't work. So in that case, you might wanna use a question. Something like, you know, which movie changed your perspective, right? But so long as your statement gives her something to respond to, you're fine. All right, moving on. So her profile here mentioned Neverland, and I played off of this. I hope you don't mean Neverland Ranch. So again, just a funny, simple line. This girl, one of her photos had a cardboard cutout of Obama. And I said, I want to get to know you just so I can meet Obama. So again, it's related to her. It has the hook, it has the line, and it has the reel. I relate it to me. Now, obviously, not every one of your messages needs to have all three of those components. But the more that it has, and the stronger they are, the higher your response rate will be. So again, this is another girl that messaged me about tea. And again, I just use that same statement about tea, right? We'll get along, we'll get oolong. So that just goes to show that if you have a really great bio, and by great bio, my bio is only a sentence long that lists out a few of the things that I genuinely like. And so long as you have a few jokes or puns that have to do with them, anytime she messages you, well, you can use that instead of just saying something like, oh yeah, I like that, right? Because that doesn't really do much for us. Now, this girl's bio mentioned that she was looking for guys with a good vibe, so I sent her a GIF of a vibrating fish. Now, this Tinder breakdown, by the way, I'm only showing the opening, but this is really funny. And I have the entire conversation. To a lot of these, actually, I have full video breakdowns, but we'll talk about how to get that later. But this is pretty funny. You'll see it later. Next up, and by the way, I hope you guys are finding these examples interesting and exciting. They really demonstrate the system pretty well, I think. All right, so this girl had a photo with a Trump mask. So again, that was the hook. FYI, I have a Trump mask with me wearing that on my first date. She said, I'll wear Hillary. And I said, our sex is going to be really weird. So you notice that a lot of my messages don't get really sexual. I know a lot of guys do, and maybe that works for a lot of guys, but that's just not what I do. I rather connect with a girl. But I feel like you can use more edgy topics and more sexual topics so long as it's coming from a place of genuineness and not desperation, right? So even though I'm talking about sex here, it's a joke that isn't going to put her wall up and make her feel like, oh, this dude is just looking for a one-night stand, right? All right, so does that pun look familiar? Find jokes that work for your profile bio. Again, that's the the oolong thing. But notice that I don't just stop there. In this case, I actually make a second joke about living in the past because I just got out of a long plane flight into a time zone that was in the past. So that gave her something more to work with than just, yeah, here's a little joke, right? I gave some information about myself. That's, again, being genuine. And a lot of what I'm not showing you here is after you do this Tinder opener, and I want you guys to master it. I want you guys to be able to take this to the next level. People ask, well, what do you do from there? Don't worry, we'll talk about that at the end. But a lot of that has to do with just getting authentic, being short, concise, and setting up for the date as soon as you can. All right, so another girl is referencing tea. And in this case, I'm not using that oolong drink. In fact, she's already interested because she's pretty much inviting me out to drink tea. So rather than ignore that, I say, yeah, let's do it, right? Do you know any cool places in the area? I'm already thinking about logistics for our first date. This girl had a photo of her with a sombrero. No bio, all boring photos. But one, she was wearing a Corona brand sombrero. So you might say, okay, well, dreaded profile, how do we handle this? Well, pretty easy. You just find something in any of her photos, no matter how small. If they're all selfies that don't have any hats or anything weird, don't worry, we'll talk about that soon. But in this case, I just picked out a little image, a little part of one of her images that I found. This girl was another profile that had nothing in it. a few boring selfies, no profile, but her age was listed at 89. So I just kind of ran with that. This girl mentioned that she will regret using Tinder. So again, there's my hook. I just ran with it. Let's get our mutual regret started. Hi, I'm Mark. So again, it's funny, it's light, it's related to something in her profile, and it's related to me. And at the same time, although it's a joke, it still is pretty genuine. One of her photos had a photo with her in a fake mustache. That is an easy reference, right? Bonus points for girls with beards like me, or beards for me, right? Now, this is one of my weakest openers, but I wanted to include it because I thought it was helpful. She has a photo of her jumping midair as an easy transition into a fun topic, which is superpowers, right? So this is a example, more or less, of using a question, right? And it's a little bit more fun than just saying something like, you know, hey, what's your favorite movie? So here's another example of the dreaded empty bio boring selfies. And when I mean empty bio boring selfies, I mean exactly that. There was nothing that I could pull from her profile at all to make it personal to her. So what I do in that situation, we have two choices. One, you can make the opening statement about you. Hey, I just did blank today. Or, you know what I'm really into? Blank. Or I just learned the craziest thing, blank, whatever. Something that actually happened to you, or a very short 1 to 2 sentence story about you. Or you can ask a deeper question. So rather than just say, hey, you know, where did you travel? I said, where have you gone that had the most impact on you, right? And in this case, I didn't let her get away with a lazy answer. All right, so in this case, another example of someone that doesn't have much in their profile. Well, this girl was from California, and now she's located where I'm located, which is New York. And in this case, I just referenced that. One of her photos had the mascot, which was Slug. And I'm referencing how the New Jersey, New York area is pretty terrible. So again, just relating it to her and relating it to me, hook, line, reel. This girl mentioned how good brunch is in her profile. So again, very simple line. A lover of brunch is a win in my book. Very, very, very simple. And another thing that I did in this line, this conversation, is the if you don't agree, unmatch me ASAP. So a lot of guys are scared to take risks. Don't be. That doesn't mean send weird, like hypersexual or aggressive messages. That means if that's part of your humor, then use it. Don't be scared that she will unmatch you. She might, and that's okay. All right, so that was 24 examples. We burned through them all. But we need to cycle back around and talk about that 5th rule, which in my mind really is the secret sauce of Tinder results. Now, we will get to the live Q&A soon. But first, I want to go over this. Get out your pens because I do want to write you down. Have you write this down. So the secret ingredient here that makes everything else work is reference experience. So following our system will work, as you saw firsthand, and as you do it more and more over time, you'll get more and more results. This is how you will know which hook will be the most effective. This is how you will intuitively know what line she'll respond to the most. And this is how you know how, quote unquote, hard to reel in. I think most of you guys already know this. It's kind of an exaggeration to say it's a secret. just because the more you do something, the better you get at it, right? Like any other skill. That's not exactly, again, rocket science. But there are two problems with reference experience. One, like any other skill, it takes years of failure to build. And think about all the fun that you could be having during that time. Instead, you're going to be spending that time with slow trial and error, getting matches with girls who potentially could have been your girlfriend or your future wife, but you didn't know what to do, or you sent the wrong line, or you were still practicing, and you lost the match, right? And the other problem is it gets harder to improve the better you get. There's a curve, a gradient curve, and the better at any skill you become, the more difficult it gets to get better at it. So don't be me. There is another way to get reference experience without going through years of failure like I did. You know, the good news is you don't have to wait those years to start seeing results. When you do get those results, you don't have to fall into the trap of complacency or hit plateaus. You don't need to do what I did, which is struggle for a long time. That's why we made Tinder Wingman. We're going to be giving you the reference experience from a team of dating coaches so you can dramatically cut down the time you need to become seasoned. And once you do, you'll be part of a mastermind of guys who excel with online dating so you can always stay sharp. Now, before I tell you what's inside Tinder Wingman, there's something extremely important that I want you to know. The doors to join Tinder Wingman are only open until January 18th at midnight. Now, this is actually different now. This is now January 22nd at midnight. We extended it, I think like 3 days. But anyway, after that, you will not be able to join Tinder Wingman. It will take months or longer before we'll open it again, and you're going to find out why in just a sec. So what is in Tinder Wingman? Well, first off, we have weekly Tinder breakdowns. Each week, you'll get a new Tinder breakdown video so you can absorb all of the reference experience from our real team of experts. So these videos are anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes longer, where we take a full Tinder conversation from beginning to end and break it down literally line for line, why what works. Think about this webinar, except it's focused on each individual Tinder breakdown. This is, without a doubt, the fastest way to get that reference experience. And again, it's coming from a team of different experts, so you don't have to get one perspective. You can get the perspective of everyone. We'll break down the conversations line by line, so you understand why we said what we said and why she reacted the way she did. You'll get the core principle in each breakdown, so you know how to incorporate it into your game. And you'll get unshakable confidence, not just in Tinder, but OkCupid, Field, Badoo, Coffee Meets Bagel, and even your text game. In many of these cases, in many of our breakdowns, in one video, we'll show you how we got her number from Tinder. And in the next video, we show you how we went from the text conversation to the date and even beyond. The same principles apply to everything. The other thing you get is one-on-one coaching via text. This is groundbreaking. Have you ever wished that you can just get help on the spot? When the pressure is on and you need help right now, when you don't have time to run home, fire up Tinder Wingman and watch all of the videos to get answers. Well, that's exactly what you can do with Tinder Wingman. No matter what you need help with, you can text into Tinder Wingman with your phone and get help immediately with any issue once per week. You match with a girl and you don't know what opening message to use, send a screenshot of her profile to us. We will tell you exactly what to do. And we won't just tell you, but we'll lead you to it. So some of the ways that guys are using the texting, let's say you open a girl on Tinder, you have a new match, but her bio is empty and her pictures are just selfies. What do? Or maybe a girl ghosts on you mid-conversation. How do you get her attention back? Maybe you've been talking to her for a while, but you can't seem to lock down the date. Or maybe you even watched one of our Tinder breakdown videos and you have a question for the coach that made it, specifically about that breakdown. Or maybe something else entirely. No matter what you need help with, you can text into Tinder Wingman with your phone and get immediate help with any issue once per week. This isn't just a set of videos. Tinder Wingman will give you live feedback and help in the moment. Next, we have a content library. Now, hopefully you found this webinar extremely helpful, but we've only covered your opening line. Our content library covers everything else in our online dating mastery course and our approaching mastery course, so you can learn exactly how to approach women that you're attracted to in real life. And you'll also be getting access to our webinar archive and live Q&A archive. We do a live Q&A for our members every single month, and you get access to all of that. Now, the other benefit of Tinder Wingman, and I love this, is accountability. This is not a set it and forget it program. In fact, that's why Tinder Wingman is not right for most guys. It just isn't. We're not like a gym. We're more like a personal trainer. We'll be there with you at every step, checking in on you personally, one-on-one via text, to make sure that you follow through with what you start. Again, if you're just looking for a program to get and forget it, thinking you're going to get great results, do not get Tinder Wingman. It does not work like that. We are one-on-one. We also have our mastermind group. As soon as you become a member, you're going to join it. You'll be connected with all of the other Tinder Wingman members so you can see their strategies firsthand and share your own. This is how you'll keep sharp, experimenting with new strategies, and get really good really fast. So who is Tinder Wingman for? Well, to be honest, it's not for most guys. Most guys want the easy way out. They want scripted lines. Most guys don't want to put into any work, so therefore there are no lasting changes. And most guys want us to feed them lines so they can get the date, but don't actually want to become a better man. Well, that's not for us. That's not how we operate, and we're not shy about firing clients, especially because we only let in a small number of new members in so everyone can get one-on-one personalization that you actually need to get better. We are fostering a real community here, and we're not going to put that at risk for your money. So who is Tinder Wingman for? Well, these are only 3 very small clips out of 3 guys of the hundreds, if not thousands of guys that we've helped. So Dan, the quality of my matches on Tinder has gone significantly up ever since I tried a few of the tips out. In fact, I started seeing a beautiful college girl regularly. Texting was my weak point. Thanks to Tinder Wingman, I started getting more women invested through my improved texting. This means I was going on more dates. And RFAT, my success with women dramatically increased when I started learning from a mentor and the awesome Tinder Wingman community. I was learning exactly what to do and what to fix without sacrificing what makes me, me. Now, when you go into our website, you can see a lot more testimonials. Really in full, these are just small quotes. Maybe after this webinar, like Dan, Malawa, and Arafat, you'll see the same success too. So let's talk about next steps. So 2 weeks, that's how long it takes for most users to report back they are seeing changes. 2 months, when most users report back to us that the changes are permanent, because it takes about 2 months, not 1 month, for a habit to become formed. After 2 weeks, what would Tinder Wingman be worth to you if you were getting the same results as everyone else? What about after 2 months? What if you met the perfect girl for you who made you unconditionally happy? What if you were living a life with an abundance, surrounded by attractive and intelligent women, because you took the small step to try Tinder Wingman completely risk-free? What would Tinder Wingman be worth to you then? Well, I can tell you exactly what it costs. What it's worth is something entirely different. So let's go over that. Now remember, with Tinder Wingman, each week you'll be getting a brand new Tinder breakdown video. Other companies charge up to $40 a month for only exclusive video content, nothing else. So right off the bat, you can expect to pay $40 a month for the videos. You'll also have access to our full Mastery online dating course, Mastery approaching course, webinars and Q&A, and a lot of the other programs you'll find with other companies just for courses, not new content, just existing courses. You can expect to pay as high as $800, in many cases much more. So that's about $66 a month if you do a 12-month payment plan. Every month, we do a members-only Q&A. This is a group Skype coaching session that's easily worth $100 in value, especially if it's a small group where you get individual attention like Tinder Wingman. So again, $100 a month for group coaching. One-on-one texting. Now, of course, there is nothing like this at all. But let's consider this similar to an individual Skype coaching session with a dating coach. Since you're messaging in 4 times a month, this would be equivalent to a 1-hour Skyping coaching session that is worth at least $200. So one-on-one coaching, $200 a month. Now, we also have a lot of bonuses that I'm gonna be throwing in that are worth at least as much as the program itself, but we're just gonna leave the bonuses blank for now. So already our total is pretty big. That's $4,820 or $72 a year, or about $400 a month. Now, I mean, you guys already know that I'm not gonna charge that because, I mean, Tinder Wingman just wouldn't be accessible enough for the guys who need it most. So what if you could get the entire package with the Mastery course and archive, the $800 value, completely free and included? What if you could get it with the group coaching, the $100 free and included? Now here's the kicker. What if you could get it with the one-on-one coaching completely free and included? That's right. You get the entire Tinder Wingman system for only $39.97 a month. But frankly, there is a catch. The catch is that Tinder Wingman closes at 11:59, January 22nd. If you miss out now, you will not be able to join, and there are no exceptions to this. You know, frankly, we keep our prices low by maintaining a small team. By limiting the window that guys can join, we allow ourselves the ability to scale and control our price. With that said, I did mention that there are some bonuses for joining now as well. So what about those bonuses? So bonus 1, we're actually gonna pay 99% of your first week. You're only gonna pay $1. You'll try it and get to see if it's for you. There is absolutely no risk because you can cancel at any time. Bonus 2, our texting ebook, Text God, is going to be released soon, and all Tinder Wingman members are going to get it at a massive discount. This Tinder ebook is going to be huge and include a vast amount of real examples. You're not going to want to miss this. Now, this is the really big one. You're gonna get a bonus where you're gonna get doubled Texans on your second month. So you can get that edge, because the second month is where guys start to fall off, because that's, you know, you really need to stay on your second month to get your habit formed. So we're gonna make it easy for you by giving you the ability to get double the personalization. Now, finally, we're gonna be giving our 4th bonus. And this is a reward that is for guys really looking for the lasting change. A year subscription costs $479.64. We're actually gonna knock off $80 from a year subscription for you. So it's just $399.97. Now the thing is, we actually do not give price discounts on our product because, frankly, our product does not need price discounts. However, we really want to reward the guys who are in this for the long haul because there's so much one-on-one personalization. We want members who will stick with the program rather than the guys who will slip back into their bad habits right away. And we have one more bonus, and this is the biggest yet. Bonus 5, if you join Tinder Wingman before this webinar is over, we'll say thank you by creating a special Tinder breakdown video of your Tinder conversation at the end of your second month. That's right, we're gonna do a full Tinder breakdown of your conversation. After you've had time to learn the Tinder Wingman system, you will get the feedback when you need it most. This will be 100% personal to you. So how do you sign up? Sign up now. Click the link that just appeared in chat in the webinar. You're going to be able to join Tinder Wingman. Do not wait. You do not want to miss out on this. All right, so with all that said, it's time. It's been 45 minutes, so it's time for the live Q&A. I hope you've been writing down questions because we're going to be jumping into it right now. And by the way, one more thing. Our guarantee is that we are the best out there. And we stand by that. So here's the deal. Cancel whenever you want. No bullshit, no sales. And if you hate our advice, let us know. And we will do our best to make it right. Okay, so let's jump into the live Q&A. And remember, you might be watching this on YouTube, but if you go back onto the webinar page and look in the chat, you're gonna find that the link is there to join Tinder Wingman. And if you join before this webinar is over, the live webinar, you're gonna be able to get that last bonus that I talked about before that we've never done anything like that before. And by the way, if this is a current member, if you're a current member that's watching, you're gonna get this bonus totally included, so don't worry. All right, so if you have any questions, go into the chat in the webinar and you can go ahead and write it and I will go through and answer them. And I do have a few questions written down. So as far as Tinder Wingman goes, what makes you experts? So Zerby was founded by two Simple Pickup employees, Jump Cut Studios. If you don't know Simple Pickup, they are one of the world's largest and most successful men's dating brands in the entire world. Their digital product called Project Go has had over 50,000 subscribers, and their YouTube has 2.7 million subscribers on it. All of our coaches are screened and regularly screened, even once they're screened and they're in as a coach. And we test them, evaluate them regularly to make sure that they maintain that incredibly high standard that we have for all of our coaches. Sarav, hi. Hey, man. Mark, hope you're still here too. Next up, is this a pickup product? No, this is far from it. So we believe, again, as you saw in this webinar, that success comes from two places. That is reference experience and being authentic. There is no middle ground. It doesn't come from tricks. It doesn't come from seduction. It doesn't come from lines that are copied and pasted and memorized. And it certainly doesn't come from believing that women are less than a man. So we believe that dating comes from a place of integrity, and that the guys that master that have the most authenticity in their messages will succeed. And that's why Tinder Wingman is so powerful, because we show you how to convey that most effectively and give you our reference experience, which again is so critically important. All right, next up, what if I hate Zerby? Well, again, like we said before, we have a cancel anytime policy. And another thing that I didn't mention is that if you join our year subscription, you're going to be able to cancel within 30 days and get your money back 100%, no questions asked. So really, there is no risk at all. We're going to do everything that we can in our power to make sure that you get the absolute most out of your Tinder Wingman subscription. How to address topics like age, height, etc. What do you mean? I'm not sure exactly what. Like if she's way older than you, or way younger than you, or she's taller than you, or shorter than you. I guess that's what you're asking. It doesn't matter. Truly, it doesn't matter. You can just not bring it up. If she brings it up, that's okay. Just move on, right? You can either say, if she says, oh, you're too old for me, just say, yeah, that's pretty interesting, and then move on. It really doesn't matter. In fact, the point is that with any of these things, they come from a place of insecurity. If it doesn't bother you, then it doesn't matter. Mark asked, how sexual do you want the vibe in general? You kind of mentioned you don't want it to be too sleazy, but I think that tends to happen to me as I start to stay too long on the getting to know you part, and I'm not sure when to take risks. Yeah, so being sexual on Tinder, I just don't think is really important. For me, the way that I use Tinder, and again, there's other Tinder Wingman coaches that have their own system, and when you join Tinder Wingman, you'll see how they go about it. But with me, I use Tinder to be very concise. Hey, here's something that we have in common. Here's a few lines where we get to know each other, and then I immediately just go for the date, right? So it makes it really, really simple and really, really easy. So again, don't worry at all about getting too sexual. You don't really need it. You just get to know the girl and move on. Go for the date. Tends to happen to me. I stay too long on the getting to know you, and that's very common. That is a very, very common thing. And really, that's probably the most useful aspect of Tinder Wingman is seeing seeing the real conversations, right? You can see not just the opening line, but you see all of it. You see exactly where we show you what works and what doesn't work. It's the best part, right? All right, so moving on from there. If I send in a question, okay, this is a good one. So this is asked pretty often. If you send in a question onto Tinder Wingman, will you just get a one-line response back? The answer is absolutely not. So the way that Tinder Wingman works is we don't answer questions, we solve issues. So let's say that you text in to a Tinder Wingman coach and you're like, hey man, blah, 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 I need some help with this. What do I say next? We're not just gonna give you a line. We're gonna help you lead to that line. So we might say, okay, well, give us what you're thinking and we'll work with it. So again, this is not a text in and we're gonna give you an answer and then blow you off. This is a conversation. This is a one-on-one experience. You're gonna get to know the coaches. Now, you're not always gonna have the same coach when you text in, but you're gonna get to know them. They're gonna get to know you. And you're really gonna start to improve and get better. So don't worry about that. And I know a lot of guys are like, okay, well, how do I text in? What if I'm not in the United States? Well, great question. Tinder Wingman is not limited to the United States right now. If you're in any other part of the world, you can message in with other applications such as Facebook Messenger. Soon we'll be having WeChat, WhatsApp, and a few other of those thrown in. So it's really easy. No matter where in the world you're located, you'll be able to use Tinder Wingman. Mark says, I stopped using Tinder for a few weeks and stopped using it because I thought it made me more complacent and I didn't cold approach. Getting back into it, any advice on not slacking off on other aspects of getting good at dating? Yeah, I know that's something that people say all the time. It's like, well, if I'm using Tinder, then I can't get better at dating, but you're still going to meet people. You're still having a conversation over text. And if you meet a girl at, let's say, the supermarket and you get her number, that's fantastic. But where do you go from there? You have to text her. So the online dating skills, and even calling this Tinder Wingman really isn't specific to Tinder at all. That's just kind of what we're calling it, so guys know what the product is. But all of this applies to absolutely everything else. Again, this isn't specifically related to Tinder. So all of these skills will be helping you for, when you go out and approach women that you're attracted to in the street. But the other thing is advice and not slacking on other aspects, really just being part of a community of guys that are doing the same thing. So you all encourage each other. Part of the mastermind group that we have encourages that. And I think that you guys will really find that useful, Mark. All right, so this is a pretty common question, and that is why does Tinder Wingman close? And why is it closed most of the year? So we've actually been closed for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months now, and we'll probably be closed again for up to 6 months. Again, the reason that we close is because we have a pool of members and we have our coaches. It's very one-on-one. It's very personal. If we were to keep it open all the time where guys can just join whenever they want, it would completely overwhelm us. So we screen our members coming in to make sure that they're going to get the most out of the system and contribute the most to our community that we already have. That slows the process. And then, of course, once we have a certain number of users, it's really difficult to scale. So we control it by making sure that it doesn't open all the time. So again, if you do not join Tinder Wingman by the end of this week, you're not going to be able to. That's it. We don't, every once in a while, and not that happens all the time, but every once in a while we'll get a guy who messages and says, hey, can I get in? I missed the last opt-in. I can't. No, we close it. That's it. All right. Final question that I get is, what if I need extra help? So what happens, again, because you can text in once a week. What happens if you text in once a week? You text in, let's say, yesterday, and then it's the next day, and you need help. Maybe it's related to the same conversation with you're having a girl, and she sent back a curveball, and you have no idea where to go from here. Don't worry. Here's the great thing about Tinder Wingman. This isn't a giant company. This is one-on-one personalization. We know you. So if you go ahead and message in, a day later, even though you've used your text of the week, you need help, we're not going to leave you hanging. We're always going to be there. We're always going to get your back. We're not going to nickel and dime you. We're not going to say, well, this guy texted in a little bit extra. We're going to go ahead and charge him, $10. It doesn't work like that. We've always got your back. And now, of course, don't make it a habit, but we've always got your back. So don't worry about it. All right. Well, that about does it for the opening message webinar here at Zerby. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. It's support@zerbyapp.com. Just send an email and I'll help you out. Remember, if you join Tinder Wingman right now, you're going to get that last bonus where you can send us a full Tinder conversation, one of your own, or text conversation, or OkCupid, whatever you want, and we will do a full video breakdown of it. And again, if you don't sign up by the time that I end this webinar, you're not going to be able to get in. So again, the link is in the chat. I just posted it again. I am going to end the webinar now. I'll give it a 5-minute window of opportunity for you to join. And then after that, you're not going to get that bonus. But don't worry, all the other bonuses that I went over will still be good until the 22nd, when the doors to Tinder Wingman close again. So with that said, guys, thank you for attending. I really appreciate everything, and I will talk with you guys next time.